Hello and welcome back to another episode of Taking Back Saturday, a Happy Buyers Club podcast where we break down the real estate market each and every Friday and help home buyers build confidence, follow a process, and hopefully buy really happy. I'm Sam Hunter, back on the other side of the studio, my uncomfortable seat, joined by one of Australia's best buyers agents. After a successful NRL career, he transitioned into buyers agency after seeing the successes and probably the stresses of building his own property portfolio. Matt Srama, welcome to Taking Back Saturday.
And Sammy, thanks for having me.
Thanks,
mate. You just tripped down memory lane when you're saying all the stress, mate. There's a lot of grey hairs getting more. Yeah, let's just put it that way.
Let's start there then. What causes unnecessary stress when you're buying a house?
Yeah, I think back. It's one of those funny ones, right? Like, you wouldn't change anything for the world. It's one of the most fulfilling, I guess, asset classes, industries, whatever you want to call it. So it's amazing. And I remind my team as well, like the gratitude of being in an industry where, you know, you can earn some serious money, similar, like if not more than brain surgeons and stuff like that. And if you can kind of apply that then to buying property and doing great things for yourself too, you can create a fulfilling life. With that though, nothing comes easy, right? So if you ask me on the spot that question, where the stresses come, I would say the uncertainty is number one. So one of my favorite sayings is you got to have the courage to start and then the discipline to keep going. So I think with property, the courage to actually take action on whether it was signing the contract or to just start getting in the marketplace and putting offers in. It's scary, right?
For sure.
I think everyone's got to realize it is scary. You got to have the courage to start though. Otherwise nothing changes.
We had an episode a couple of weeks back where we were talking about it's kind of fun and games going to open homes and looking at houses till you find something you like, and then suddenly you're like, why are all these people in my living room? Like,
yes,
and that's the feeling you got to lean into and move past that. So that's the feeling that I think a lot of real estate agents rely on to get a great price, perhaps more than what anyone else might have paid. Let's talk about the stresses. You got to get past that. You got to take action. How have you translated your experiences into what you do in business now?
Yeah. I think number one is your surroundings. Number one, like it sounds so easy and you hear it all the time, like surround yourself with, but I look at my journey with property. Number one, that when I started out, and you know, I'm still considerably young in my books, but I'm in my early 30s now. When I was early 20s, I bought my first property at 21 and there wasn't podcasts like we're sitting on now. I used to go to all those seminars, you know, at the hotel. And
which people would think is dodgy now.
Yeah.
Because they listen to podcasts.
100%. Yeah, exactly right. So yeah, I used to go to them. YouTube was just bubbling. It just started and there was a bit of content on there. And I used to read magazines a lot from the newsagent, the property magazines. And that was my surrounding kind of thing. And I just used to immerse myself. Even though nothing would happen, I started getting learning, confidence. So those, I don't know, your body then starts telling you, all right, maybe go to an open home. You start getting amongst it, talking, having different conversations, reaching out to people who might be in it. So I always say your environment is number one. What are you surrounding yourself with? Number two then is it's all good having action, but nothing is without execution. So that's, I think, the biggest thing I've learned from property and business is you could know everything around property, you could know everything around business, but if you also struggle to execute, that will just hold you back.
So you know everything about a property, it's where you want to live, you know the price, but you aren't willing to make an offer.
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest, that's what I always say is knowledge is power, but only if you act on it. Because again, doing this as a profession now and helping other people, there's a lot of people who have all the education they have at their feet, but they're still nothing happens.
For sure.
And that's why I say it's 80, I think it's 20% learning and knowledge and then 80% mindset and just trusting either the process and, trusting your gut, and just, you got to be someone who's willing to take calculated risk. Do you
think it's different risks whether you're buying a home for yourself versus an investment property?
I do, yeah, 100%. I think when it comes to I think people put a lot of emphasis on the forever home. And again, I probably did too back in the day when I bought my owner-occupier.
It's the Australian dream, right?
Yeah, it is. But then again, getting older, wiser, and then doing this for a living, I've realised we have people who we bought the forever home. They're already on to the next because it's the home for right now.
Yeah, starter home.
It's starter home, yeah. So I think people put so much pressure on finding the perfect home, where sometimes I think it's try and find perfect for now, because I don't know, I can tell you time and time again, I nearly don't believe in the forever home anymore, because families change, tastes change, decor change, jobs change, finances change. There's so many variables in life. So I think that's a big one to remember is with owner occupiers, don't put too much pressure on finding the perfect home. And then for investors, I think that is probably where you got to calculate your risk a bit more, because again, you got to be a bit more unemotional about it. It's got to stack up from a numbers side of things and all of that. But if you make the wrong decision there, that can affect other areas in your life. So if, you might not, if you buy the wrong property, it could affect your repayments, for example. You might lose money, which no one wants to do, and that can set you back. So the bigger risks involved with investment property, I feel.
For sure. We talk to anybody who will listen, but most certainly our clients on, regardless if it's your first home, your first investment property, the 15-year family home, whether you're downsizing, you just want to find good fundamentals, because it's almost objectionless real estate. And then if you do have that job change or a family change, or you're sick of it raining for 3 months a year in Brisbane, so you want to go and move overseas to get out of it, you've got the opportunity to get out of it potentially without having to lose money, because objectionless real estate tends to do pretty well over a relative short term, right? Not maybe 2 or 3 months, but maybe 2 years into very well into the long term.
100%.
So my question to you is, you're the Gold Coast guy, we're the Brisbane guys. Yeah. What's good real estate fundamentals to you?
Yeah. I always say this, location does 80% of the heavy lifting. I truly believe you can't out renovate a bad location.
Yeah.
I just think location, where that piece of dirt, whether it's a unit or a house, where that piece of dirt is located will weigh up 80% of its value over, as you said, that short to medium term. It's also a big factor when it comes to de-risking yourself too. I think if you nail location, number one, you're 80% of the way there. Now, what constitutes a good location? Again, depends on what city we're talking. I can unpack Gold Coast super quick because, we live and breathe that. I live down there myself. What I found with the Gold Coast is that the value derives east to west. So the ocean is on the east, and then you got the hinterland to the west. Why I love the Gold Coast, it's landlocked too. So you can't actually build on the ocean, and you can't build in the hinterland. So it's very landlocked. So to the north, there's some house and lands way up north now. Like I think Brisbane and Gold Coast will connect in the time being. It's getting close already. So I try to avoid places where there's more supply to be built. And then you go way down south over the border into the Tweed Valleys. There's still a lot of land there. So if you end up smack bang, like main pockets of the Gold Coast, you're pretty much landlocked. Now, when you talk on it's all good. You said location does 80% of heavy lifting. I'd just be trying to, knowing that value derives east to west, I'd just be trying to get as close as I could to the sand as I could. If you can't afford a house, I always say focus on land to asset ratio then.
Small complexes.
Yeah. So again, if we're looking at the dirt, right on the beachfront, they're going anywhere from 12 to 20 million, right? If you can't afford that, which a lot of people can't, there's select few that can, that's okay. Still try and hunt for the best location you can as close to that. And sometimes it might be a street back, it might be 2 streets back, it might be 4 streets back. Or, and this is what I always say, is it a unit in one of those parcels of dirt that are closer, but your portion size is smaller? So as you said, like maybe a block of 4, block of 8, you're a 1 4th owner of that.
Someone's going to come along one day and want to give you 20 mil.
100%, yeah. So think of it as like fractional investing nearly. So that's my take on location on the Gold Coast. If I was to unpack it, if I was to look on a macro scale, I just think the fundamentals are things like not just one industry sort of towns, like, you know, you would all those mining towns, and I'd try to stay away from
boom and bust,
because as soon as that industry leaves, so does the wealth and the you know, the infrastructure, all that. I think little things as well. I love the word gentrification. Big fan of that. I just really like suburbs where the adjacent suburbs might feel affluent or a bit better. Maybe there's the brand new renovated shops. Maybe there is a few new cafes that just popped up. Really cool school, like a nice park, things like that. But then literally the next suburb over has got that kind of...
It's B plus.
It's a bit how you're going nearly.
Edgy.
It's a bit edgy.
Yeah.
It's still got the, you know, the ugly looking shops there. Maybe it's a bit ratty. The homes, bit ugly too, like not as many builder fences up doing big renovations. I actually really like them. If they're right next door to the affluent ones, I'd say keep an eye on things like that if you're looking for like opportunity with locations.
That comes back to your point of you want to buy the kind of home for now or the home for the next 5 to 7 to 10 years rather than it's not a 40-year decision because actually you get in that B plus area, it spikes, then you can get into the next place and you can move one in if you want, or you can move into the same area again in just a nicer house because you've done really well getting in before everybody else.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're the same sort of thing. Like Brisbane is a floody city. So we look for just no flood risk, particularly no overland flow risk. Like it doesn't rain for a week here very often, but it shits it down a fair bit. The last thing you want is fast moving water on your block. It's a surefire way for a buyer to be like, I don't want to buy that house. We don't like main roads. You know, Australia's really lucky in that it's pretty sunny country. So aspect doesn't mean as much here as it might do way down south in Melbourne, Tasmania, whatever it is. So if you bought something with the southern aspect, you're still going to have plenty of light in your house most of the day, but it probably won't be as bright and light as a north facing. West, hot, things that we like to avoid if possible, but then you might get a position where the west is actually a city view or a river view or something like that. And
good point.
mitigating factors. Don't have to worry about that at the Gold Coast because east is beautiful and ocean. It's not so bad. Is there... This is now just satisfying my curiosity. Sorry, listeners, but is the freeway, like the M1, is it a dividing line realistically, like a price line where it's like you're paying a premium to be east of the M1?
I think organically, I think it's
unless you're like Tambourine or somewhere.
Amazing. Well, that's the thing. When I say value derives east to west, that's on a general consensus of just general. But then, funnily enough, it goes right up again for these really big acreage properties far out west. So it's nearly like, you're right, probably where the M1 is in the middle. You've got the eastern side and the western side, and like anything though, as I said before, value kind of as people get priced out, it kind of pushes as well into adjacent suburbs, as I was sort of saying. But I think another big one is looking at those zones, like what you've explained there is, I guess, a zone line. And, you know, there's the Gold Coast Highway, and then there's like, you know, Mark Carey Street, and like anyone who knows the Gold Coast, kind of the one in the middle. And then you got the M1. It's literally like you got 4 zones there. So I noticed price value is different in all 4 of those zones. So it's just a little things like that, understanding markets within markets, and also understanding that every single, I guess, pocket price, whatever it is, there's always also a story behind every dwelling too.
100p, we talk about that all the time. It's not just enough to get your comp. If you've got the time and the energy and the courage, ring the agent that sold it and figure out what the story was, how many offers were there, how long did it take them, was it best and finals, did it pass in at auction? Because that context, it informs you and it allows you to justify your offer to the next agent.
100%. And like when you look at those things and you peel it all up, and I say this a lot to buyers, like it isn't actually rocket science to value a property. Like people spend too much time wanting to be like a full-blown bank valuer to the dollar, but at the end of the day, they're like it's nearly impossible to try and value something to a dollar. It's just there's ranges, and there's also, at the end of the day, value is what the market's willing to pay at that point in time as well. So you got to understand like what type of buyer bought that one versus that one, and at the end of the day, like you said before, the overarching thing is, what is this purchase for you? Is it an owner occupier or is it an investment? And I think just knowing what the clear, like, I guess, black and white is on what your goal is will make you make smarter decisions. Because sometimes if it's a property that has some emotional attachment where, you know, that aspect would be perfect for us and the kids, and we would dream of having, like, as if you...
It's worth more to you.
It's worth...
For sure.
Exactly. It's worth more to you than the investor who's got the firm line in the sand. So that's why I always say, like, don't go too hard in trying to nail a dollar price to the dollar.
Particularly when you have those feelings, like the house is the win in that instance. And you can have confidence that if you feel that way about it, if again something changed in 2 years' time, pandemics and like market crashes and everything aside, someone else probably has that feeling as well. And so justifying an extra 2 or 3%, which depending on the value of property you're buying, could be a couple of grand, could be tens of thousands, could be hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it's all relative. And if you can comfortably afford it without putting your family on 2-minute noodles and baked beans, and you get that feeling, lean into it. Yeah. Because that might be the difference between buying an awesome property that makes you happy versus missing out and going, fuck, we probably would have paid a bit more for that.
Well, I say to everyone this, that sometimes the biggest cost is the cost of inaction. And you're better off getting into the market before getting priced out of the market. And in places, especially where we're talking Southeast Queensland, there'd be so many people probably listening to this right now that they're seeing property that they could have got for 100, 200, 300K cheaper 6 months ago. And only now that hindsight has drawn in, they wish they made a different decision back then. So that's why it's always good to understand that if you're in a moving market or region that's moving, again, the decision and sometimes the skill is, buying strong today to avoid actually paying tomorrow.
Tomorrow's price is a real thing, I think.
100%.
And like we say that to our clients. We're like, we probably won't buy the first thing that we see, and we're here to support your decisions. But if we've got an opinion on price, we'll share it, you know, and then you do with it what you will. Because I think we are there to do a reason. We are there for a reason, to offer that level of support, to kind of be the challenger sometimes, not just the order taker.
Definitely.
And I think a good real estate agent on the sales side does the same thing, where a seller wants 20% more for the house because they buried a dog in the backyard, and the agent's like, it's your dog, not the market's dog.
100%.
All right, you made an interesting point about market moving, tomorrow's price. Like Brizzy, the Gold Coast, this pocket of Australia has seen some pretty consistent growth for years. Like there was a blip, but I think for both our markets, it didn't really feel like a blip, whereas it has for the rest of the country, maybe not Perth. Obvious real estate agent question, how's the market? What do you think is going to happen this year?
I think it's been exciting. And look, I'm always really vocal on like what I feel and think, because I think it's sometimes our duty of care, because it is a common one, right? And like we have an opportunity where we're in the market literally all day, every day. Like I love sharing what I seem to be believed. Nothing is guaranteed ever, but my gut feel and what things are happening. I've been saying this for 6 months, that quarter, I guess the first 4 to 5 months of 2025, I think are going to be very strong. And when I mean strong, it'll be tough for buyers, but strong for price growth. So when you hear the word strong, though, people get confident. And I had 2 interviews last week, one with the Bulletin and Channel 9, and both of them were around how the word boom, sentiment, you know, how good units are, but like just, it's all confident stuff. And I remember doing the same interviews with the same journalist a year and a half ago, and it was all about cost of living crisis and what you do to say. So it's just funny how much
all those problems are still there, if not worse.
Exactly, yeah. So it's just funny how much the media plays into this sentiment. So when I noticed the media start changing the narrative, then noticing things like, you know, stock levels are kind of flat, still, not booming, like they're still flat. But then I'm noticing migration levels increasing. Just feeling as a business, inquiry is increasing. So that's telling me more buyers are getting geared up. And then you chalk to pretty much every decent broker out there, they're somewhat busy as well. So everyone's gearing up to get approvals. Everyone's looking to get loans. So that's telling me I'm looking 90 days ahead, and I want to get in now before. I don't want to be in the mass competition. And for some people, they will, and that's okay. But I'm always really big on like spotting the. I would have honestly tried to buy like 2 months ago if I had a perfect world, but if not now, definitely by sort of March. I think by Easter would be a really good opportunist time, because I think the progression after that could be 1 or 2 interest rate cuts potentially, more confidence, more sentiment. We're in this like mini, not a boom, but just like it's hot.
I think for us, like I agree with you about a couple of months ago. Like it felt like, not that the market shut down, but it felt really stable, and it was the fairest market ever. I think for Brisbane, certainly in the last 3 or 4 years, was sort of mid-November to Christmas.
Yes.
Whereas like initial offers were getting accepted.
Yeah.
You know, and we were thinking we were geniuses, but we were just kind of following the process, right? Yeah. And then I don't think prices here in Brisbane at least have spiked that much this year, but activity is through the roof. A lot of people are getting organised.
Organised, yes.
So that when that right one comes up, they can pull a trigger, they can make good offers, right? Yeah. They're not the buyers that are like, oh, we saw a place on Saturday, we made an offer and we've got a 21-day finance clause. It's like, I need 3 days.
Yeah.
Or I can bid at auction.
100%.
Let's go for it. And that I think is encouraging for the market. I don't think Brisbane's got another year of 12 or 15% growth in it. I just don't think affordability is there for the vast majority of people that are living and working here, unless another 100,000 people come up from Sydney and they've sold their shitbox for $3.5 million and they go and buy a beautiful house here for 2, you know. But I don't necessarily think that that's the way, but I think there's enough people and not enough stock to keep things progressing.
Oh, and can I just give one of my favourite tips? And it's I hear when people say, I'm just going to wait to see what the interest rates do. It is the worst strategy. I always say hope is not a strategy. And remember that it's just an amateur strategy, because if you're waiting, like a lot of people sometimes say, well we're just going to wait and see what interest rates do. Like once you feel confident and kind of ready, if you see evidence that is dropping, you just got to remember mostly the educated buyer, they've already bought. And now you're entering in a marketplace where you feel, so does a lot of the majority of Australia.
Rat race catch up.
Yes, exactly. So if you're someone right now who's on the fence and waiting to see what interest rates do, my only advice to you is just rethink that strategy if that's what you're waiting for. Because again, your strategy is very similar to a lot of Australia right now. And with competition comes price growth. So again, the key is to get in the market before getting priced out.
Agree with that 100%. All right. Let's end on high energy. I want to give you some quick fire questions. These are the questions that I told you I actually wrote down. So we got there at the end, right? A couple of quick fire questions. We'll try and get you out of here and to your mum's place tonight for dinner before school traffic, right? What's the first question you ask a real estate agent when you hear about a new property?
Oh, that's a good one. I'm just trying to play over if I'm calling an agent right now. Actually, first question I always ask, mate, is it still available?
Nice. Yeah. What's the second question?
How's the campaign going? I think would be the second. Yeah. Mate, it's still available. How's the campaign been going? Like I'm assuming this is an online property. Yeah. How's the campaign been going? And again, that's probably, if this was to a novice buyer, I'd probably give a different question. That's more because of rapport.
You got a relationship. Yeah. What would you do if you're a buyer?
If I was fresh off, I'd ask, is that one still available? The only reason I ask that is because sometimes online it's already gone.
For sure.
I'm wasting your time, everyone's time. Still available? Yeah. Cool. Sometimes I just go straight in and it's like, what would buy it today? Right? I just get straight to the point. If you're someone who'd be confident to lean in with that. And the reason I like that, 2 reasons. Don't be too complex on talking to agents. Sometimes they're busy. A lot of them actually like getting straight to the point. I mean, they're trying to sell a property, right? Or is a softer way could be like, is there a price that you feel could like put it under contract today? And some might say, they'll give the comparables and this and that. And all it's doing is just highlighting where it's at, potentially. It can be a cut-through question.
What's one line to get a deal done?
Yeah, one of my favorites is it's similar to that. It's like on the back of that they say 900 would get it done. Awesome. So just so I can be clear, if I get 900 on a contract today, we're shaking hands. If it's yes or no, and if it's yes, I always say this is my favorite term is like leave me with it. If they say $1 million, just say it's value. The values are 850, 900. $1 million gets it done today. I'll still say leave us with it. And the reason is I want to kind of engage the agent onto myself.
There's a deal here.
Because what happens is there's plenty of tie kicker buyers out there. They want to talk to qualified people. So when I sometimes leave them with leave me with it, it's like, okay. And then I can come back to them and say, hey, they love it, proactive. Hey, really good news. Got an offer there currently at this level. Like, do you reckon we got enough in this to keep the negotiation going? And then it's just kind of like, oh, I like this. They're not just, it's only worth 850. The worst thing you can do with any real estate agent negotiation, I feel, is be strong ball, like this and that. You got to kind of work with them, I feel.
We always say people come into it and it's a really common mistake. They think it's us versus them.
Oh, yeah.
And like real estate deals come together when the seller wins, the buyer wins, and the agent wins. Right?
Everyone has to have a win.
Yeah,
100%.
It's got to be fair. Everyone's got to feel like they've won. And there's got to probably be a little bit of hurt in it for everybody as well. Otherwise, it doesn't come and doesn't feel fair.
Yeah.
If it's perfect for one person, the other person probably feels like they've had a go at them or they've been screwed over. So, all right, last question for you. This comes out on a Friday morning at 5 a.m. Most people listen to this at our stats say at about 7:30 on Friday morning.
Yeah,
so what's the one tip for buyers who want to buy a house this weekend?
Yep. Number one, I'll give 3 actionable things. First thing that comes to mind. Number one is be active in the marketplace. So don't expect to find your dream property if you've just got one in your itinerary on Saturday. I think just even if ones don't suit, get amongst 5 to 8 or something. Just put them all back to back. Even if it's not definitely the one for you. Why I love that probably leads into number 2 is build relationships. So the stronger you can build relationships with the people representing these properties, you got to remember everyone you meet has potential of 20 to 30 people they've spoken to that week who could have your property too. So if you're not in front of them and just building a slight little rapport and just mentioning, hey, this one's not the one, but have you got anything 3-bed, 2-bath, more this level? The amount of times where that has led to, I do. It's wild. So get in front of more faces. And then number 3 would be something along the lines of just this is a bit of a weird one. I reckon have a system and process. People get lost in the busyness of it. So if you do number 1 and 2, you're pretty much ahead of most buyers. But what I find people who are really proactive and do all that is they lose track of everything. So whether it's a spreadsheet, whether it's just have your follow-up calls, who you've spoken to, someone would have said, I got one, call me back Tuesday. And then this one said, maybe by the end of the week. It's like, they'll forget about you, but you can't forget about them. So have some reminders or systems and processes, stuff like that. I'm really big on because I always say this, buying property should be treated like it's a business.
For sure.
Yeah.
6-week campaigns, get it done.
Yeah. It's a business. So people think you can just go in blind versus people who do it professionally and they treat it like a business. You can't compete. So actually you're about to depart with a big chunk of money. It's a business at the end of the day. So make sure you get systems, processes, and maybe help. If it's not a buyer's agent, maybe you got your family, your hubby, and he's in charge of, updating the spreadsheet. You're in charge of calling the agents. I don't know. So treat it like a business.
I love that. Matt Srama, thank you very much.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me.